Hello and welcome. I'm Duke Pierce and this is
Oliver Boone.
and welcome to Let's Go to the Movies.
We will burn out bright like at the movies, driving movies for the rest of our life. The sun and the moon, you are everything, every star I have ever seen.
Do you want to start us off, Ollie?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just read that Yara Shahidi is going to be playing the new Tinkerbell in the live-action Peter Pan
Oh wow.
on Disney Plus. Yeah, what do you think of that?
I think there's already been a live action Peter Pan.
Yeah, but it's the next live-action
Why do
Peter
they need
Pan.
to do another
It's
one?
Probably the 7th one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You're not a big fan of Disney?
No, I am Disney. I like Disney, but to be honest, I haven't seen any of the live action remakes.
Oh, I mean, they're a bit hit and miss sometimes. Like, there was Pan that came out in 2015.
I don't understand why. I don't want to see any of them. Like, why some of them are some of the greatest animated movies of all time. Why do we need to remake them?
That's a fair point. I think the answer is money.
I think you may be right.
Yeah.
In other news, some trailers have been released. Trial of the Chicago 7. We watched that before we started today. What did you think of that?
I think it was very interesting to see Eddie Redmayne play an American, and it was always hard for me to believe.
A little bit at the beginning.
It's very different for him.
He's a great actor, and I really enjoy him. But it was similar with Sacha Baron Cohen, who's also. It's got a great cast.
I love Sacha Baron Cohen. It's very hard for me to ever believe that he's not Borat. He just
Borat.
sounds. It's just in his voice. It's so hard for me to shake away him as Borat.
But I mean, the movie's got it's got Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, John Carroll Lynch, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's set in the 70s or the late 60s rather, and it's about the protest outside the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and it was the protest against the Vietnam War. That had been going on for a while now. It looks good. It's a Netflix movie. So the other trailer I watched before starting was The Father with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And that looks who I'm a huge fan of. I think
and I
he's
saw
one of
Olivia
the-
Colman as well, right?
Yeah, Olivia Colman, and it looks good. It looks interesting. It looks like it's kind of got a. It's a drama. It says a man refuses all assistance from his daughter as he ages. As he tries to make sense of his changing circumstances, he begins to doubt his loved ones, his own mind, and even the fabric of his reality. So it seems like it's going to be like a heavy drama, but at the same time, it's going to have like kind of a mystery, a little bit maybe of a thriller vibe to it.
Those movies are tough to watch. I remember watching Still Alice with Julianne Moore about like a woman in her 50s that's slowly losing her mind to Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's hard.
Very sad.
The Judge.
Yeah.
With Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall, yeah.
It was a very well acted movie. Tough to watch though. It is because.
But I mean, that's what makes it so interesting to see, like a movie that can affect you so much.
Right, and if you're affected that much, and it's painful to watch, that means the actors are doing their jobs right.
It's hard to watch those movies more than once after you've got through them.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I actually saw that M. Night Shyamalan he's just come out on Twitter with a new thriller. And he gave a name and a photo, and the movie is called Old. What do you think of M. Night Shyamalan? What's your take on him?
I don't know if I've seen a whole lot of him though.
He's been a bit hit and miss. Sixth Sense is definitely seen by everyone as his absolute best movie.
I also like Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people don't.
He's great,
but I think he's a good actor.
Who doesn't like Bruce Willis?
Well, some people say he's an action. He's nothing but an action guy.
He started out as like kind of like a comedy sitcom guy, and then he did Die Hard.
What's that? He had that TV show. I think it was Moonlighting.
I don't know the name of the show. I just know he did it.
Yeah, he did kind of like I think it was kind of like a Remington Steele type TV show.
Okay.
Also, Knives Out 2 has been confirmed with Daniel Craig by Rian Johnson. He did say, though, I saw an article this morning saying he was having a hard time coming up with the script. Did you see Knives Out?
I did, and I loved it.
I did too. I really liked it, and I'm really excited.
Would it be the same family? Do you think?
No, he said he doesn't want to call it a sequel because it's the only person that's going to be reoccurring is Daniel Craig.
Okay.
So it's going to be like a Hercule, Agatha Christie type thing.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So that's what he wants it to become. and I really enjoyed Knives Out. And it's one of those movies that I would be thrilled to see a sequel to, like, especially if it's done in that way where it's not like a direct sequel, but rather it's just a continuing of one character's.
I think I'd be a little upset not to see the whole family again.
Right. Well, yeah, because it was their dynamic and their performances were so entertaining.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to see. No spoilers here, but I'd love to see the villain make a return, like,
yeah,
and get revenge.
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, that's it from me.
Have you seen anything about Infidel?
I don't. I have no.
It's
I haven't heard
the
of it.
new Jim Caviezel movie.
Okay.
And I'm a fan of his. I really like that show. He was in Person of Interest,
Yeah.
which is really good. Okay, well, should we move on to the movie of the week?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
And now let's go to our movie of the week with our guest Fabrizio Danieli, who is a recent alum of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts Company. He is also a founding member of Momus Media, who is producing this podcast for us. He's an all-around great guy. He's entertaining, and I'm glad to have him on as our first guest. Fabrizio, you were on set last night, weren't you?
I was, yeah. We were.
Yep.
We were on set, yeah.
It was good.
We have a little Halloween special coming out.
So yeah, tell us. So you're working on some stuff. What all you got in the pipeline?
Oh, podcasts, another podcast, YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, one film set, Halloween.
Yeah.
What else am I missing?
We're going to be doing the 48-hour film festival this month as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we need your help, by the way, that weekend.
Well, that's
Yeah.
glad you decided to tell me that.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies to come out in the last 2 to 3 years, The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. You want to give us a brief synopsis?
Yeah, absolutely. This little Wikipedia synopsis I found. So, The Irishman follows Frank Sheeran, a truck driver who becomes a hitman involved with mobster Russell Bufalino, played by Pesci, and his crime family, including his time working with the powerful teamster Jimmy Hoffa.
Very exciting. So, just to start out here, initial thoughts. I watched it again last night, and did you watch it last night?
I think we all watched it again last night.
We were all very late.
Yeah.
So we didn't get much sleep because it's the 3 hour,
3.5 hours long,
show.
which I don't mind. I really don't mind.
I do.
He does. But I love epic movies. Like, I'm a huge Lawrence of Arabia fan, Dr. Zhivago.
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur, all that. Like, I love that time period of if my big thing is, and director Sidney Lumet talks about this, if you can say something in under 2 hours, if you can tell a story in under 2 hours, you do it. But if your movie has something to say for 3.5 hours, then don't be afraid to do it. Because what I'm finding a lot of times, though, is that sometimes movies, if there's a movie that has something to say for 2 hours, 2.5 hours,
Right.
but they're worried, it's usually studios who worry about them being that long.
Of course, yeah.
They'll
They
cut
split
them
them
out,
into parts.
and what happens is that usually the character and relationships is what gets cut,
Yeah.
and I find that to be quite sad.
Yeah, or like The Hobbit or Kill Bill, they'll just split them into different parts.
Right. And Lord of the Rings is a good example of this. It's like it has a balance of action and character and
Yeah. Although with The Irishman, I do think that. So what is happening? I think if you look at the industry right now with all the Marvel things that are coming out, it's a very fast-paced cinema right now, right? Movie theaters, everything is fast. The audience retention is probably not as long as it used to be, right? So I think Scorsese, he could have told that movie in 2 hours. I'm pretty sure he could have. I'm pretty sure he could. But I think that he wanted to bring back some of that older 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s Hollywood,
That's
you
what Al
know.
Pacino said. He said it felt like making a movie in the 1970s.
Exactly, because there are so many moments of, especially De Niro, of just thinking. Like, there are so many moments where there's just nothing,
Right.
know, which is not nothing.
It was
We might disagree a little bit on that, but because I wrote down in my notes, it says we constantly see Frank Sheeran thinking for himself, but not speaking up for himself.
Absolutely, I agree on that.
Which is
He
a
follows
great
orders.
little character. Yeah, a character note.
Yeah.
And I will say, kind of makes me agitated a little bit is when people go, it's too long. Whether you have an opinion on it could have been done, but people go, I can't sit there for 3.5 hours. But you'll binge watch a like a whole season of a TV show, and it's like that's
for
very long.
8 hours a day.
If you have no patience,
Agree.
But I think it's also
watching Marvel.
Like people are so used to a certain length for a film and then certain length for a series. The Irishman to me felt like, especially because I watched it on Netflix, I didn't watch it on the big screen. It felt like I was watching a series without having to skip to move to the next episode.
Right. Yeah. No, I got to see it in theaters, and that was a really good.
Yeah.
Really good experience.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was. I went to the premiere, and so I ran into
Here in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I ran into Al Pacino and all those.
Oh,
guys.
did you say hi?
The closest I got to him was that. So those guys don't watch the movie anymore. Like they saw it, maybe they watched it in New York or something when it premiered.
Yeah.
But when it comes here, they don't. They come in, they do the red carpet, and then they sneak out.
Well, yeah, of course.
So they were taking me to another theater.
Okay.
And so, but they were sneaking out as I was walking into the theater.
Right.
So Al Pacino, he kind of stumbles a little bit, and he I think he dropped something, and so I was about as close as we are, and I was like, but the security guard was like, "Man, get out of here." I'm like, man, he's my hero.
Good, you got back.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what are your kind of initial thoughts with it? What
I found The Irishman was almost like an unglamorous gangster movie.
Yeah.
If you compare it to something like Goodfellas, like where I mean, one of the first lines is, like, ever since I was a kid, I always dreamt of being like a gangster.
Right.
This song, it's almost kind of like telling it from like the opposite side, because I mean, Robert De Niro's character, he's just, it starts in a retirement home, and he's just alone.
Yeah.
And it's so
And
depressing.
actually, that's a point, and that's something that Scorsese, I think, is so good at.
Yeah.
He can make bad people look really cute.
right?
Like,
yeah.
you feel for them.
And
And you
so-
think, like,
by
even at the
movie,
end,
yeah.
when he talks about how he killed people, but you see this old man and, like,
Yeah.
about to die, and you're just like, I'm so sorry.
Well, yeah, at the
like
end
this
of
is one of the worst human beings on this
at
planet.
the end
Robert
of
De
the movie-
Niro is always sympathetic. Like in so many of his movies, so
he's
sympathetic.
a bad guy,
So
but he's
good.
sympathetic. And by the end of the movie, it's not that you're sad necessarily about him, but you feel sorry. For
Absolutely.
him. It's like, dude, you made so many wrong decisions, and now you've lived because so many of those gangsters like die. Like
Yeah.
they get killed. Like they don't live to
course
get
not.
to that age of
I
having to.
love that editing of being introduced to someone at freeze frame.
It's so-
and you
it's
see
so
how they
golden.
died. That is so
that was
haunting.
brilliant.
Because
Well, I
one of the
I watched it on Javier's Netflix account. Okay, so every time that freeze moment happened, it was all in Spanish, so I had to like stop and translate it. Like, dang it.
Well, one of the criticism of Scorsese is that he glorifies violence and gangsters. That this movie puts an end to that.
Yeah.
Because if anything, it's the exact opposite.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And shows you with that type of the freeze frame editing and it's like these guys don't live to be that, like they get killed.
Yeah,
Their
and I
lives are
also,
bad.
yeah, that's a really good point. And Scorsese also made something really, really interesting, which is in the US, the mob was always this big, fancy thing, and like Goodfellas, right? That's a very, very pretty accurate way, I think, from what I know, obviously.
Glorifying it. Of
Yeah,
making it
but
seem
they
like it's a
were
better life
they
than
were
it is.
rich. They would show that they were rich. They would wear $10,000 suits, right? But if you go to Italy, the mob is more like the Irishman.
Is it?
They are so low key. They barely go out. They don't dress in suits. Like they live like.
But
like,
aren't they like a big part of like the community? As well? They give so
Absolutely,
much.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
and they're like.
how they keep
yeah.
that power a lot. I think, right?
They're just like part of the communities.
Yeah.
There is no big parties or big, like nothing. And I like that about the Irishman a lot.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and I've loved it since the first time I saw it. But I will say that you've said this too, is when you watch it again, because I've watched it like 4 times now. Can you tell I'm a fan?
That's like a day's worth. That's like
I
a
know.
day.
But it does, the time does get easier to watch. Like,
Absolutely.
When I first watched it, I was like, this is long. And there are certain parts of it that are meant to be long.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, spoiler alert, it's just unavoidable. But when Frank is going off to kill Hoffa, like that is so drawn out because it's inevitable. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and that is kind of like it's the anticipation of it. How is it going to happen? What's going to happen? And
when I first watched it, I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't sure
Really?
where it was going to go. And when
Really?
it did go,
Did you not know the
I
story of
realized
Hoffa,
after.
or?
I did not know the story of. Well, I knew that he disappeared. I mean,
Mhm.
everyone knows that he did get whacked.
Right. Well, it's understood that he's
Like this
That
is
he
Frank.
got
Like this is Frank. Is it Sheeran? Or
Sheeran,
Sheeran?
yeah.
Yeah, this is Frank Sheeran's claim that he killed Hoffa, which is, I believe it.
yeah. Well, it's kind of, there are some other documented things that make it seem like it did happen.
Yeah.
Like the house. So I recently went to the
Detroit.
Mob Museum. I don't know if you see that in Las Vegas, and I saw, because they talk a little bit about Hoffa and his connections to, and the movie's actually fairly accurate in a lot of sense. I mean, there's conjecture on
Of course.
how he disappeared and stuff,
Right.
but like the house in Detroit that they use, I mean, I saw a picture of the real life. It's a spitting image. It was really like the detail that Martin Scorsese goes through.
Yeah.
And there's another when they're at the party, and Fat Tony is talking to.
The award party.
Yeah. Fat Tony's talking to Joe Pesci's character about how Hoffa is holding up some loans.
Yeah.
And he drops some names, and he goes, the New Orleans mobster guy. It's like he just says his last name, and it's like, if you know about mob history, then you get it. If you don't, it's just like he's saying another name. But like the guy he came up with is a real New Orleans mobster and had ties to Las Vegas. So the detail is just astonishing.
But you have to. It's based on a real story. You know, you have to be detail oriented. There is not much space, because that's unforgivable. You know, if the press finds out that certain things are completely made up, then they're gonna be like, hey, wait a second, you're just doing a real story or not? You know.
I mean, let's be honest as well. You know, like people often get their education from movies. If they watch a movie based on a real person, they will believe whatever they see.
Right.
In a sense.
And what I do is I usually, like, if I see a movie that's based on a true story, I go research it more. And that's what I think one of the powerful things about movies is that it conveys stories that are true and allows us to find something new and learn things. And now our movie's always accurate, of course not.
No.
But if you're a learned person, then you will go research for yourself, and if you like that kind of things, which I do. So rating, where would you put this out on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'll let Fabrizio go first.
Well, you know
you go first.
what? There's so much to consider. Did it like blow my mind? No, it did not.
Really?
Me personal, no. The acting, 100%. But we're also talking about 3 of the most iconic mob actors.
I think
love Joe
I
Pesci
think
in
it's
this.
Joe Pesci's best performance.
I think
different.
it's everyone's
It's
best
so-
performance, honestly.
It's so and
The only one I would argue best performance, De Niro, 100% his best
it's,
performance, I think.
Yeah, I do
Like,
too.
because of how detailed it's, like, if you look at Raging Bull, like, it's so different. It's
Yeah.
good, it's truthful as always, but like there was so much going on in Frank in those 3.5 hours, and it was all there.
The ticks,
Yeah,
the mannerisms,
100%.
they're so real and so
I
grounded.
can't compare. I don't know if I could compare Raging Bull to Irish.
No, I'm not. I'm just
Yeah.
comparing acting, you know, because De Niro is always good, but I think The Irishman was his
I
absolute
think,
best
and I think it's a
performance.
crime that he wasn't nominated. And I think it's a crime.
But
that,
you know, the awards, it's always like, I don't take that
know,
serious,
it's,
man.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
To tell me, to tell you. It's what it is.
What it is.
It's what it is.
And I think it's also a crime that, and I liked Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really did. Thought he was good.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was on the level of Joe Pesci or
You
even
kidding?
Al Pacino.
No.
Yeah.
How?
It's
Yeah.
but really in general, I think it's Pesci's deepest performance.
It's so.
Well, he had a long
He's
time
so
to-
quiet. He's so
work.
quiet in this role compared to how he's almost
subtle.
He's almost a caricature sometimes, like how he's seen with like his usual characters. Not in Goodfellas specifically, but I think after when he did the Home Alone movies, those are like his 2 most well-known
Yeah.
movies.
And I gotta say, it's just awful that you'd come to a meeting not wearing a suit.
told us you had a bit
That's it.
prepared.
This
Yeah.
is disrespectful.
Well, I wasn't 15 minutes late though. 10 would be fine, right?
10 would be fine. Let's talk about that scene.
Making a point dressing like that? Is that you dress for a meeting?
And this is how you dress in Florida? In a suit?
For a meeting? Anywhere. Florida, Timbuktu, I dress in a suit. For a meeting.
I
It's-
love Stephen Graham.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good. I think it's
There's a lot of comedy in The Irishman,
it's
which you wouldn't
funny.
expect.
It is
Of
funny.
course, life has a lot of comedy.
But I think in Al Pacino, the whole movie is kind of this big character, like he's large. And this scene, he's kind of a little bit reserved. He's keeping things back.
Of
a little bit.
course.
And it shows his range as a subtle actor, which I think he's always had. If you look at Dog Day Afternoon, the range that man goes through is just amazing.
Scent of a Woman.
But Son of a Woman, exactly.
Oh, you love that movie, yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. And my
Oh,
dad
I
really
get
likes
like chills, like just thinking about that moment when at
I'm
the
in
table.
dark, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, the tit tat between Stephen Graham and Al Pacino is really just astonishing. And what Al Pacino's so good at is like mannerisms, and same with De Niro. But Pacino, like when he looks at his watch, it's so good, and everybody's so free in that scene. Everybody's so
Yeah.
allowing things to happen. Which is, I think it's
It's
in
just
the top
so
three scenes.
real. It's just so real.
Yeah,
So what did you think of the de-aging technology they used?
it didn't bother me that much until he throws the man through the door and kicks him. That's really the only time I'm like,
It
Wait,
bothers
when-
me
what's he?
immediately.
when his daughter gets pushed by the guy and he takes his daughter to the grocery store.
I love
That
it.
was
It
off.
great.
That was off.
I didn't
it's
notice. I didn't
Yeah.
notice.
Really, well, it's bad kind of stage combat. He kind of throws him, and then
Yeah.
the guy jumps into the door. It looks kind of,
Yeah.
and then like the kick.
Well, I don't know.
It did look weird to me, and I didn't think that was
Almost
due to the
every
technology.
The thing what I liked is almost every, like when he throws the guns into the water,
Yeah.
it always looks so weird the way he throws it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt like, why is he throwing it like that?
Yeah,
Like he has
and-
such a weird arm movement.
Because
but
he's 75.
Yeah, and there are some at the beginning. I guess maybe it's the beginning that throws us off, but as the movie kind of progressed, I was like, it doesn't bother me. Maybe
Well,
he had better.
Here
scenes
is the
than
thing.
others,
Here's
too.
the thing. I'm wondering if no one would ever have mentioned that all of this technology was used.
Mm-hmm.
How would you watch the movie? Because the moment you knew about it, the moment you went into the movie theater, right? You knew about that. So the first thing you were looking out for was, let me see, right? But I can guarantee you, 20 minutes into the movie, you didn't think
forgot.
about it anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it was both. It was marketing
Mm-hmm.
because it was like, hey, we did all of this. So people are like, ooh, let's go and see. Right, cash, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding.
Yeah.
So it was a marketing reason to bring it out there that it was so important that
It's
they
the-
did
it's
it.
the
Like
new age,
almost every movie has makeup artists on set, right?
Mhm.
And almost every movie there is some sort of de-aging or making someone older. But no one mentions it because it doesn't matter because you believe it because you go and watch a movie anyway.
Well, this was so different though. To like
Because it was
have
all
so many
technologies.
actors.
Yeah. But I think they mentioned it purely.
It's definitely marketing
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they spent so much
And I
money
mean,
on
it's-
it.
Yeah, and that's true too. And Scorsese has always kind of been on the edge of new technology and using it to his advantage.
Yeah.
And one I think it doesn't really work out for him is The Aviator. I don't think that movie's aged very well. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah.
I actually
Was it-
saw it like a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I watched it a couple months ago. And the planes and stuff I don't think really kind of holds up. The CGI there doesn't really hold up
I mean,
well.
it's also
I think
14
it's a
years
time-
ago.
That's
You
true.
know, it's
That's-
like
And I think
That's
it's
true,
also
too.
it's also like a period film in a way,
Mhm.
like to try
Right.
to get that
Yeah.
time of like the 20s and 30s.
I will say I don't know what I'll say because I just forgot it.
That's okay.
That's
But I
good.
will say that the technology. I'll say this: the technology does come across a little bit better on the small screen. When I saw it on the big screen, it was a little bit more in your
Okay,
face.
interesting.
The first shot of De Niro driving in the truck
Yep.
is the only shot where I did not like the CGI.
Yep.
It looked like the movie Tintin.
But because you were so aware of it,
I
guarantee you.
wasn't. I that definitely plays a part. I agree
Yeah.
with you. But I've seen it twice now, and I can believe the rest of the film. It's literally just right at the beginning. I'm just
Agreed.
Maybe it's because I'm.
But
seeing
I think it's
De Niro
all
in
our
his
brains.
age.
Yeah.
I'm seeing. It's hot. I think it's. I think it's hardest when you're just seeing De Niro in his old age, then going to him as his younger self, and just having them to compare.
Also, it's a little bit when you think about it more, and if you ever watch it again, you'll think about this. Sadly, but it is a little bit weird having Joe Pesci talk down to De Niro as if he's a 20-year-old or like a 30-year-old.
Yes.
Like at the beginning, it's like
Yeah.
y'all are like the same age. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But I think the performances cancel all that out.
Yeah,
I really
for
do.
sure.
And what the movie does really well, and I think, my next question is, how does it fit into the genre? What new things does it bring? Because that's one of the criticisms of it is that it's just what Martin Scorsese and all these guys have been doing since the 80s with Goodfellas. It's just a rehash.
I think it's a passion project.
But I think so too. And I think one of the things that's different is the timelines. That hasn't really happened before, where he juggles 3 different timelines.
Yeah.
And the way he does it, I think, is brilliant, because you never really question where you are, and it's never abrupt, and it's always transitioned really well. And I think it's something that can be overlooked.
Yeah.
You don't think about it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you think about it, the way he kind of bounces back between when he's really young, when he's really old, when he gets a little bit older, when he gets even a little bit older, and it seamlessly goes into the final act of the movie.
I'm wondering if that would all work without the narration, because every time there is a jump in time, you hear Frank's voice narrating, talking over it, explaining something. You know,
and
that helps a lot.
And that's. Do you think that the narration hurts a movie? Do you think that a narration there's a philosophy, and David Mamet talks about this. He doesn't really.
Oh, you like Mamet too?
I do like Mamet a lot, but he doesn't really like narrations in movies because it's just explaining to the audience what's happening, and instead of letting the movie show.
I think narration can kill a movie.
I think narration can too. Do you think it harms The Irishman, or do you
Because
think
of the time jumps, I think it needs narration.
it needs it?
Yeah. Or you put a ugly title card, October 1965.
They kind of have it. They do have.
They have
twist.
both.
They have
Yeah.
like a twist.
When there's
like
no narration, there is a card.
in the
when
final
there's a card,
third, there's a twist almost though, because you think he's talking to us the entire time, but he's actually it's a confessional, isn't it? Right? To a priest.
to the priest.
Yeah.
To the priest. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Which I thought was like an interesting.
Yeah, but I think
I don't think he
95% of
needed
the
to
people
have
didn't
that.
get that.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
he needed to
I
have
don't know if I
that.
got that the first couple of times. Yeah.
Oh, after 4 times watching
Yeah,
it. There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But you're also so captivated by the whole thing that you... Because I know Ollie and I were on the same page. We love like those little secret things that people, good movie filmmaker put in movies.
Easter
like
eggs.
like the scene, one of my... I think it's so... People are not even thinking about that scene. It's probably one of my favorite scene in the whole movie. Is when they're both in jail, Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, and they drink wine and eat bread.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Fantastic. It's just
it's
so
so-
brilliant,
it's
right?
so
It's like
subtle and-
Jesus at his last meal, right? Wine and bread.
Some of my
and afterwards,
favorite-
Joe
yeah.
Pesci goes and dies.
Yeah.
So he basically puts Joe Pesci into Jesus'
that's-
shoes.
I just love how it's a mirror of the earlier scene though,
So good.
when they're younger.
Yeah.
For the
And
first
that's
time.
and,
they're
and
sharing
you'll find that
bread.
riddled in Scorsese's thing is he's got a
Yeah.
huge thing with Catholicism, and growing up.
Yeah.
But you know, in subtle, and I didn't get this till I watched it last night. I struggled with what is going on when they're driving in the car with Hoffa, and why the seat's wet. I'm like, did he get a body? What is? It's because he wets the seat so the guy doesn't strangle him from behind.
Yeah.
It took me 4 times to get that. You know, it's like it's still the little subtle details that I think make the movie.
Yep.
So how else do you think it does? Does it do anything else different from the genre? Because I think the and you've talked about this a little bit, the relationship with the daughter. I don't think that's something that's been explored as much in Scorsese cinema or just cinema in general, and I think the performance by
Paquin.
Of course, she doesn't have a lot of lines. I think she says like a total of maybe 3 or 4 lines.
6. I just read about it.
Really,
Yeah.
is it 6?
And one Scorsese gave in addition. It was meant to be 5. But I just read that she wanted to be in that movie so badly that she would have done it without any lines.
And he cast her for her nonverbal communication
Absolutely,
skills.
yeah.
Because she does. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She really is good in that movie.
But what I hate, and again, Scorsese is just so brilliant. It's like the daughter should represent, in my opinion, what people think about this man.
Mm-hmm.
But you root for De Niro. You want her to talk to him. You want him to be forgiven. But he's, again, one of the worst humans being that lived on this planet, right? But he uses the daughter as, this is what you guys should all think.
Yeah, the
but
Sound of
because I did
Reason,
such a good movie, you're compassionate about him.
I mean, it's also what happens when when you have your protagonist, no matter if
Absolutely.
he's good or bad, you end up you're almost like forced to root for him when it's like he's your.
When she closes the thing and the closed thing in front, like you want to cry, and you're like, I'm crying for one of the worst villains, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's and that's and also she's there to show how everybody loved Hoffa.
Yeah,
Everybody loved Hoffa, and he's kind of this demagogue, and he's getting. You'll say, I'll get you all this stuff, and I'll really gonna help you guys out. And he's stealing money, and it's but everybody loved him, and he's got this energy that everybody loves.
Yeah.
And she, even though he's maybe not as bad, but close to being as bad as Joe Pesci's character, she loves him, which is very interesting. And I also think another heartbreaking scene is the bowling alley scene with Joe Pesci, and you see
he's
kind of
trying
this.
so hard.
He wants kids so badly. He wants a family so badly.
Yeah.
He wants this girl to love him so badly. And she won't have any of it. Mm-hmm. And it's another one of those moments where you go, this man has made so many wrong decisions in his life, and this is where he's paying for them.
Of course. But like what he said at the beginning, normally in the mob, people don't get that old, right? You get shot, you get buried, or something happens to you. Normally, it's just inevitable. The biggest boss, they either get caught or they die. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the blessing and the curse is that he lived so long, Frank. Well, long, like what, 85 or 83 or something like that. Mm-hmm. That it's just unusual. And Scorsese knew how to take advantage of it, how to bring that. Because when you see an old man like that and the daughter doesn't, you feel bad for him, right? You root for him, which is the worst you can do. And Scorsese puts it in your face, like you're rooting for the wrong guy.
When he's pointing at his own. When he's pointing at the coffin.
Beautiful.
Oh my
At
God.
the coffin, at the place where he wants.
You know where I think it may hit what your point the most is when he's calling the wife. It's
Hoffa's
Joe
wife.
Hoffa. Yeah. It's like, first off, it's done brilliantly by De Niro, but it's like.
Yeah. The more I think, the more I like the movie. I'm gonna put my rating up before I say.
He's calling the wife of his best friend who he just murdered.
Yes.
Not even like it wasn't even like a murder in the sense of like he went out great, like they had a good moment and Hoffa understood that he had to do this.
And you still root for.
He hit him hard and shot him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That scene though at the party, the event, like De Niro's character is trying so hard,
and that's
Hoffa
textbook acting
killed.
right there. Is fighting for your objectives, and I love that scene. I think it's one of the best in the movies between him and Pacino. But that phone call, it's so brutal, but you feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
Even though he
Just
killed
so
his best
messed
friend.
up.
I know, and you feel bad for him, which is brilliant filmmaking, storytelling.
Yeah, and the way De Niro's breaking down, and it's really good.
Yeah, agreed.
In many ways, I was just thinking like Frank Sheeran's daughter is so much like her father in a sense of not never speaking out of turn. Like she'll like accept.
Yeah.
She accepts like the people like around her, and she'll especially her relationship with Joe Pesci's character. She'll never speak out of line.
Right.
Like
and again, you mentioned that, Duke, the accuracy of the details of the real life events. So at some point in the movie, I think it's the bread and wine moment. Joe Pesci said, "I chose us instead of him." Right?
Yeah.
I had to choose, and I chose us instead of him. And that's something that a lot of people forget. If Frank at that time wouldn't have done that job, he would have died.
No.
And Joe Pesci probably too, because he would have like tried to protect Frank, right, in that moment.
There's always someone above you.
Of course, yeah.
It's
And if it's not, and even if you're at the top, the mass will eventually be on top of you. You know.
Yeah, and Joe Pesci's character already saved Frank Sheeran earlier on.
Yep. Yeah. When he was about to burn down the laundry.
Yeah, and
I think he did, didn't he?
No.
No, he didn't burn down the laundry.
he didn't.
He planned to, then he was about to go, and then they caught him.
Oh,
they stopped
okay.
him.
And the thing
Because I
about
thought he did.
Joe Pesci's character is that there's little moments of like humanity that you see. It's like in that moment, it's like I feel bad that we had to whack Hoffa, but then immediately he changes. It's like I had to do it.
Yeah.
There's a coldness. There's a. It's like you're peering in. It's like maybe there's something in there. Maybe he has a heart.
Which, like you
And he-
said, textbook acting. There's
Yeah.
always so many layers. There is
Mhm.
not just, you know.
What, what's the name of the lawyer that's played by like the comedic actor?
Oh, Ray Romano.
Ray Romano.
The
he-
Pesci's cousin in the movie.
Yeah. Buffalo.
He was. I thought he was brilliant, and it was great
Yeah.
to see him in like a
And that's
dramatic
also
role.
very accurate because I'm a big fan of real life events, right?
Mhm.
And you watch a lot of documentaries, you read a lot. I follow Michael Francese like in everything that he does because it's like this guy lived that life, right? That's like the most accurate you can get it.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen in the mob that
I've seen-
anyone like
I've seen some
has a
videos.
YouTube channel
It's
talking
incredible.
about.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Okay, where was I going with this?
We're
Historical
like Ray
accuracy.
Romano. Yeah.
Yeah, those lawyers, those people, they were in real life like that. They were
Yeah.
always like the comedic relief of the moment, you know, because
Yeah.
they were like they're smartest usually, right? They actually went to school, so they know things that the bosses don't know, but they always have to contradict them, but they still have to deliver whatever the
Yeah,
boss
but they're
wants.
kind of weaselly.
Well, they
Absolutely.
kind of like dip their toes in that life, but they're still in
Exactly.
They're still in the
Yeah.
real world.
Yeah.
yeah.
They kind of swim in
That's-
between.
And I grew up watching Everybody Loves Raymond, and you're right. I am glad to see him do something. He talks about it's like he says like even having a successful TV show because Everybody Loves Raymond was huge
Yeah.
and it's still on. He's like even having a successful TV show, I still had to audition for Martin Scorsese.
Of course.
Yeah. You got it.
The only three that didn't audition was Pesci, Pacino, and De Niro,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
But yeah, so we've kind of hit on the direction a little bit, but
Yeah.
So we won't spend too much time on it. But overall, pretty amazing. You'd say
8
on direction.
8 out of 10.
I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 as well. The reason it's not higher, and I think it's literally just because I personally think this is a passion project for Scorsese. I think this is just like the movie like he always wanted to do with his favorite actors.
Yeah.
If I hadn't seen Goodfellas, if I hadn't seen Casino or Taxi Driver, I think there's little parts of all his movies, and this is kind of like almost his magnum opus. In
Yeah,
a
I think
sense.
that's a very good point. I think that the other 2 out of 10 that are missing there, it's literally because he had $250 million. He has the experience of 40 years of filmmaking. He has this amazing cast. Like, it's just to make it 10 out of 10 with a movie like that and a caliber of acting and directing like that, you know, I think it has to be perfect. And I don't believe in perfect, so.
I believe in Goodfellas. I would give Goodfellas a 10 out of 10.
Would you?
Yeah. It's the reason I didn't like Casino so much, because it just came right
But
after
I almost think
Goodfellas.
Casino might be a better movie than Goodfellas.
I
I think
think so.
Goodfellas is a little bit sloppy. I think because I still think he was trying to figure out his style, and I think there's a little
think
bit
so?
of
In the 90s?
I love Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I do
I
love
think
Goodfellas.
it was a choice, man, to be
I
sloppy.
I think so too.
Because that life that these people lived was
Right.
sloppy and
Yeah.
weird and crazy, but dangerous and like,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
fast
over the top.
editing is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
in that final
It's a great
third.
movie. Don't get me
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
I love it, and I might even give it. I like The Irishman a little bit more because I think it's a
Interesting.
little bit more mature, and it's a little bit. I think
Definitely.
Scorsese's definitely settled into what he is.
Yeah.
And I think he was still trying to experiment with Goodfellas a little
Yeah.
bit, which is good. But it's like there's. What do y'all think about his little anchorisms when it's the killing in the barber shop? He doesn't show it, but he goes through and he sets on flowers.
Flowers.
What do y'all think about that? Because he does before. It's the same like Taxi Driver.
I
when
like it.
Instead of seeing him
I
make
love
the
it a
phone
lot.
call,
Of course.
you see the hallway.
It's
I
storytelling.
love-
You know before they go in what's going to happen, right? So on the flowers, it's just funeral style, you know. I like that type of storytelling a lot. You don't have to see and tell always in your face what's happening, you know.
Well, I mean, it's also just like so many people in that world is kind of like just turning, you know.
I would love to read the script, to be honest, because I can also imagine that what happened is that I think they did shoot that scene. I think it was in the script.
Oh, probably.
But something went wrong. Something didn't work. Something was weird that he decided, you know what?
I don't think so. I think it's a deliberate choice, and it's like like just like a regular.
I think so
person
too,
just
but
turning
not.
their
I don't
head
think it
away.
was the first choice.
Okay. Yeah.
We need to see the script.
I
Yeah.
love that. I think it's just in that moment when it's just before Joe Pesci is kind of doing his all his different.
Right.
He's got his like finger in so many different honeypots.
Mm.
The music with is it a mandolin? Kind of like.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit Spanish, but I'm sure it has some Italian influence too. It is kind of
It was
different.
so playful.
But the way that scene is shot is different. It's different than the contrast between pros rallies versus Hoffa's rallies. It's like it was more gritty. It was more like it was in a dive bar type thing, and everything reflected kind of that. And I think that music reflected because it is a litit is a little bit different. But it is excuse me. But it is a little bit.
But wait, I think you're talking when Joe Pesci and De Niro go and collect the money from all the different businesses.
I thought you were talking about.
No.
So, yeah, I think again, and you're on the same page with me. I know that is, if I'm angry, I don't have to tell that I'm angry, show that I'm angry, and signalize with the music that I'm angry, right? So if I do one of the three, like if I'm angry with my action, I throw this against the wall, that tells enough. So then with the music and with the lines, I can say something like, "Oh, what a beautiful day," right? And smash this thing, and then the music can be. Like I think that contrast, that's a filmmaking story because it again, as human beings, all the different layers that we have, and a lot of and I know it. The first few short films that I did, right? Oh, dramatic scene, dramatic acting, dramatic light, dramatic song, dramatic everything.
They'll get it.
Yes,
They'll
your
get it with
audience is
just
not
one.
stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I've just realized that the barbershop murder. I want to know. I don't know this. Maybe you do, Duke. Is that photo the actual crime scene?
That they
Oh,
cut
for
to?
sure.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
100%.
Beautiful.
I haven't researched, but I can.
Beautiful, right? That's what I thought.
In fact, watch the Netflix documentary Fear City.
Fear City. I don't know.
Fear City.
Yeah, something.
It's about New York during
Yeah.
the 60s, 70s, like the mob time and the union thing. Watch the documentary, and it shows a lot of those pictures. It's exactly the same. And Fat Tony shows up, and all these people. Yeah.
So I want to hit real quick the editing, because that's a huge part of a movie. What are your thoughts? And his editor, I don't think she gets enough credit a lot of the time because she's been his editor for many movies. Thelma Schoonmaker.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm saying that right. But I think she's such a vital part of anything he makes because all of his swings and all of his.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention it because I literally 2 days ago in the evening I was watching a video podcast about a German director, Simon Verhoeven, and he talks about filmmaking, and he said that what happens is that so he finishes the movie, everything is in the can. Most likely they start getting things before everything is wrapped up, right? So they start working, and he says so they do the first cut, they show it to me, and the first cut usually you can show in a movie theater. Like that's how good those editors are, right? So you can take that first cut and be like, release it, technically, right? But then of course the director and the writers, producer, like, wait a second, right? But they said technically, quality-wise, you could take that movie, put out there, right? Some music underneath, stuff, clean up,
Right.
but it's good to go. The story works, right? And then he said that every director has his editors, right? That's like, it's like a marriage because that has to be a fit. So what happens is that sometimes there are certain things that the editor does that the director didn't write if he wrote the script, didn't think about it, didn't plan to do it. But because the director has no idea of what the idea of the director was, because the editor has no idea what the original idea was, he goes with his instincts, and sometimes beautiful moments turn up happening. And he was telling about this moment where there's a knock on the door, and then he shot the whole sequence how he collects all the people in the apartment because they're gangster outside. And what the editors did was like, I don't care, so knock, and then the next cut they're already all sitting ready.
Yeah.
You know, like none of that collecting, and the director goes like, perfect. We don't need all of that. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great thing about editors. And I think with Scorsese, it's probably very similar. He trusts her. They do things together all the time, you know, like it's like, here you go, and then let's watch it, you know?
Right. And one of the things I really like, especially at the beginning of the movie, is that it moves.
Yeah.
Like, the beginning of the movie moves. Like,
Yeah, it gets slower like 30 minutes
yeah,
in.
it's the end that I think it's purposely. I think there are a lot of places that are purposely drawn out. But the beginning of the movie, I think, clips along. Like it's not a. It tells you everything you need to know
wonder,
quickly.
I wonder the 3 timelines. Is like the youngest Frank Sheeran. I feel like that's got the most cutting, and then the road trip is the second, and then the retirement.
Oh,
Wow, I
that's
didn't
smart.
thought about that.
It
Interesting.
starts with a tracking shot, even a very slow tracking shot.
Interesting, yeah. It could be, yeah. It could be that choice because at the end the shots are very long, very slow, almost no movement, right? All of tripods.
As time
Yeah.
gets slower to the characters.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I
I
don't
hadn't
know.
thought about that.
Oh, editing wise, there is one transition that is really, really freaking smooth, and I don't know if that was a cut or it has to be. Almost at the very end, they go out, they follow the nurse after he takes right.
Yeah.
They walk with the nurse, and then halfway through they turn, and then it's like evening, and he's alone in the room. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That transition from all these people in the hallway to nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
It was
very,
really good.
very
And but
smooth.
if you watch it, he always has people cutting in front of frame, and he cuts in those when people walk in front of frame.
Yeah,
he
that's how you
cuts.
fake it usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And I also think the music and everything he does is perfect.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's great. And every song, every moment that has music is used to its fullest. And it's
Oh, one of my favorite about music, when in the car the guy gets strangled. Before he gets strangled, he turns to jazz,
yeah.
right? And then he gets strangled and they turn it back. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, yes, because I don't understand jazz. I would love to understand it, but I'm really not musicians or anything. So I'm like, that was for me.
Yeah.
He got strangled because he wanted to listen to jazz.
Well, jazz is all about like riffing and just like freedom.
I know, and I think if I had some knowledge about music, I would appreciate it. But I have no idea. For me, it sounds like random nothingness. It's like it makes no sense. And people, musicians, like that's why it's so perfect because it makes no sense. I'm like, but it doesn't work for me. You know?
There is a structure. There is a structure.
Yeah,
to it.
don't get me started.
Let's
go back
this
to
is an
Irishman, 'cause I
hour-long
can't.
talk on jazz.
Okay. So I think we've talked about this movie enough.
Yeah.
I love it.
I could go all day.
Well, here's the thing. As a producer, remember at the beginning I was telling you, guys, let's keep it short. Let's keep it short. People, if people really want to listen to this, they will stick to it. Because I'm like, ooh, you could talk about this for 3 hours. Like, seriously.
You
like
asked me
that.
for my rating a minute ago, and I give it a 10 out of 10. I do.
Ooh.
Because it's... and I know people disagree.
Perfect.
But
It's a perfect movie.
to me, it is... And maybe it's not perfect, but because I like it so much, any little imperfections that there are, I don't care.
There is no perfect.
There's no
I
such
agree
thing as
with that.
perfect.
Yeah,
There's no such thing as a full-on 10 out of
No.
10. But if something's got to get a 10 out of 10, I think it's this. Just because the performances and the seamlessness between timelines and the editing, and there's no really technical other than maybe the CGI and
the explosions,
I-
maybe. But not even those.
It's
They
not
probably...
even- It didn't ruin. It didn't ruin the movie.
it
for me
didn't.
At all.
And
No,
the use of music, the sound, like during you just said the explosions of when the taxis go up, the silence, and then the explosion.
There is one thing I didn't like.
What?
One thing. So when Hoffa's wife gets fired, she gets in the car.
You
Like
didn't
that moment,
I was gonna ask about.
I
that.
do like that she's afraid of turning the engine on, right? I did like that. Now, there is this whole build-up, right? That's filmmaking 101, right? The audience knows what could happen, so let's see if it happens. Now, when she turns, and then there's like 3 frames of that quick explosion, and then back to nothing happened. Those 3 frames, that explosion, I don't think it needed it.
Really? I think
Yeah.
it's funny, and I think it's one of those things that Martin Scorsese does. and maybe I agree with you. I don't know. It is a little
it
much.
did come off a bit strange to
It's-
me.
but
I
what
don't
It
know.
was just you don't need it.
What,
you know?
what Scorsese does a lot though is remind you that you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Like he's not super like surrealism.
Yeah.
It's like he
It's like
does do those
Tarantino,
little
yeah.
things.
They
It's
like
it's like
telling
you're
you
watching
that
a
you're-
movie,
yeah.
man. In I think it was one of those things. It's yeah.
I feel like this is it takes the most from Goodfellas. I think I just remembered there's a scene when Hoffa enters the room and he just sees an empty room. That's the same one Joe Pesci had in
Yeah.
Goodfellas.
Yep.
When he walks in.
And the carpet, he's
Yeah.
fixing the carpet.
Yeah.
And like with Hoffa's wife as well. It's the same with I forget in Goodfellas the main character's
Oh
wife.
my God.
When she's like interacting with Robert De
Of
Niro
course.
to get like a fur coat.
Yeah.
There's that same level of fear.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she. Yeah, it's brilliant. And
But
All right,
anyways,
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
I'm just sticking with 8 because
8.
it's just because of his other movies.
The more you
so
think
it's-
about it, the more you realize how
More,
good it is.
It's
Like,
yeah.
I think technically it's an incredible film. Personally, I'd give it 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I like those are my favorite actors. You know,
Yeah.
Pacino and De Niro, those guys. And
No one
Sidney-
mentions Harvey Keitel.
I-
He's in it.
the thing is that I love Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
I do. I think he's a brilliant actor. I loved him in Mean Streets, and I love him in this movie. I think he's good. He's just underutilized for me.
Yeah, he's not in it much.
Well, I don't even think underutilized. The problem is if you have like caliber like Pacino, Pesci, and De Niro in a scene together.
Mhm. But although
Like,
I
it
think,
doesn't-
I think he's on that level. I don't think he's on the same status. Like maybe he hasn't done as many movies.
Yeah.
And have the same celebrity. But
Probably
I think
it's
he's.
that,
I
yeah.
think he's good.
I don't think he's kept it since the after
Right,
the
and
90s. I think
maybe
There
he
you
did
go.
he's
make
also a
good
little
career
older. He's
choices.
older too. I think he's 80. I
Mhm.
think he's 81.
But you know,
Yeah.
De Niro's looks, they capture you in that
Mhm.
screen, right?
Yeah, he's.
Pacino's outbursts, the same.
That's what's your favorite part of the movie? What's your favorite moment or scene?
Probably because of the Easter egg, the wine and bread in the
Mm-hmm.
in jail.
Yeah.
I think so. Mine's a toss up between. My favorite acting from Robert De Niro in this is when he's just looking on. He's like not the main focus in the scene, but he's just watching the scene unfold. And it's
He's a great
both
listener,
with
yeah.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Hoffa and the gangster that's eating the alcohol fused like watermelon.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is just kind of in the back seat. I just love watching him think.
Yeah. My favorite part though, and I watch this, and I will get on my Netflix app anytime I'm about to act and I need a little bit of inspiration. I'll cut to this part. Is Al Pacino's outburst when he's got those seven or eight guys in the room?
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to jail. It's so like just.
Oh, Pacino does that
just-
so good.
And then
just
they
good.
have like the kiss and make up with
Yeah,
him and De
it's-
Niro.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about you.
It's just so it's textbook filmmaking and it's
Yeah.
acting. It's just
Yeah.
just above and beyond. Do you think real quick though? Do you think he forgot his line when he gets so well up and then he falls?
Of course.
You think he forgot his line?
100%.
Yeah,
Well, he didn't forget the
I
line.
can't
The
think.
moment didn't require any lines.
that's
That's what it is.
that's what it is.
Maybe.
I don't care what you have to say. That's what it is.
The moment didn't require that line. That's why he didn't say it.
Yeah.
It's just call it forgot it or whatever. I don't think it was a choice to forget the line, to not say. I think like technically it is that he forgot it, but because you know it as actors, right? The moment tells you what to do.
Right.
The instinct, that specific time and place.
Before we go any further, I want to throw it over to our movie man, Larry Flanagan, to give us the current update on the status of movie theaters here in Los Angeles. Larry?
They're still closed. Back to you.
All right, so we're going to play a little game real quick. We're going to
All
play
right.
a trivia game. And I'll start off, and then he also has some questions.
some,
and
yeah.
we'll keep a tally.
About the Irishman?
Yeah, it's Irishman and Martin Scorsese and anybody that's kind of involved with it. So first question for you two is, this is true or false. The Irishman has the highest Metascore rating of any Scorsese feature film on IMDb. True or false?
True.
False.
Ding, ding, ding. It's only beat out by one.
Good fellas.
No,
No?
no. Do you know what it is?
Raging Bull.
Nope.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Nope. It's Mean Streets.
That's
Okay.
And it's tied for second by,
Goodfellas.
nope,
What?
nope,
The Temptation of Christ.
no. It's one you haven't said yet at all.
Silence.
No, no,
What? Aviator.
no,
No.
no, no, God, no.
I'm Casino.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Taxi Driver. Of
Yep.
course.
Oh,
Of course.
obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Goodfellas needs more love.
a little bit, and
I
they're
was
all
shocked.
like in the 80s,
Yeah.
80s and 90s on the Metascore. Do you want to do one?
Yeah, sure. So, Scorsese is very famous for the amount of times he uses the F word in his movies. Which movie uses the F word the most in a Scorsese? He's got 6 movies that say it over 100 times.
That has to be Goodfellas.
It has to be Goodfella, yeah.
It's not.
What?
It's not. Think
I've
of
read
that.
this one before. I can't remember. I think
Oh,
I
it
was
could
surprised.
be Wolf of Wall Street.
I think is it?
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall
It's
Street?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay,
Wall
yeah,
Street.
yeah, that makes sense.
569.
Talk about a
Useless.
brilliant movie. Okay, true or false again? This is the longest Scorsese film.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah.
You didn't get it fast enough.
No, I was thinking
No.
that maybe Silence.
No, I actually haven't seen Silence.
It was
Is
the
good?
longest and most expensive.
Yeah, it was the most expensive because of the de-aging.
Mm-hmm. True or false? Joe Pesci reportedly said no 50 times before accepting the role.
Oh, probably 100 times.
True.
Yeah.
I think I know the second part of that, right? They did a De Niro. I think De Niro said to Pesci like this is, you're never gonna get this chance again for the movie.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. I read about it.
Yeah.
You got another one for us?
It's just, as actors, this is like, it makes me so angry because like
It's like
they are begging you to be the Scorsese.
Oh my goodness.
They're
Yeah.
like begging you.
They're
You're like,
begging you to be
nah,
with
nah,
Robert
nah.
De Niro again and Al Pacino and Harvey Keitel
You're
and
just
this
like,
Martin Scorsese to
nah,
direct the
nah,
movie
nah.
and this
and we would like drool to
get
be like,
that,
oh
yeah.
my god, can I just be background on that?
Yeah.
Honestly, like Anna Paquin and Jonah Hill. Like I would take, I would
yeah.
do it for free. I'd pay them.
For sure. Just what you learn by
Please.
being in a scene with
Yeah.
them and having no lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so Robert De Niro is referred to as the Irishman in what other Scorsese movie? His character.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Oh,
Look,
Gotcha.
you're such a big Goodfellas fan that every question is going to be
it's gonna
Goodfellas.
Okay. True or false? Robert De Niro's line, 12 and a half minutes. You know what scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When Stephen
Yes.
Graham's character shows up late. And
Oh, yeah, yeah,
10
he
to
goes
15 minutes.
12 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was improvised. True or false?
True. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
true.
can see that.
And the story is that Stephen Graham was so nervous that because De Niro in the script, at least this is the story he gives, doesn't have any lines.
Mm.
But he's so nervous to be in a scene with De Niro's not talking. It's like you're in a scene with De Niro, and you're just gonna like not talk to him. So he asks him the question. He says, "Do you think, or whatever it is, do you think it's fair?" And he goes, 12 and a half minutes. It's improvised.
Bradley Cooper talked about working with De Niro on Limitless, and they were like doing like a scene where it's basically a lot of like improv where Bradley Cooper just has to show off like his credentials, and the whole time Robert De Niro is just going like, "Yeah, what else you got? What else you got? What
But
else you got?"
Can you imagine how intimidating? Just imagine
That's
you
gotta
have
be
a scene
so-
with Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Like
I have
that's
a
like
question
I will
for you
pee
too.
myself.
Yeah, which actor like of all time would you be most nervous to have a scene with,
That were in The Irishman.
living or dead?
Just overall, probably those two.
Orson Welles. I think
No,
he
I
ripped me
think
to
I would
pieces.
like to be in with Dustin Hoffman, but
Yeah.
young Dustin Hoffman.
But would
Like
you be
Rain Man
would you be
time.
nervous to work with him?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
dude, yeah. I think he has such a penetrating energy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think he'd calm you down.
It's kind
Yeah.
of scary.
A little bit.
It's a great actor.
But that's how I kind of feel about De Niro too. Is that he's so like.
De
but-
Niro would
but-
terrify me
Yeah.
because he's just so he can be so subdued.
But I'm a huge Pacino fan, so I think I
Yeah.
probably would get a little bit nervous working with
Yeah.
him. A little bit.
But, see,
I'd
but
shit
I
my
think the
pants.
thing with Pacino and De Niro is that I think like
They're still actors, you know.
yeah, but they
It's-
make you so good just by
Mhm.
being with you. They make
Yeah.
you so good just by whatever they give you. But with Dustin Hoffman, I feel like I would like be afraid of like
Yeah.
offending
with
him
him.
by doing something wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead, I
Right.
think Pacino and De Niro will be like,
They're so
"Don't
alike.
worry, we'll make you look good." You know?
That's how I see Dustin Hoffman. I feel like Dustin Hoffman would be
Seriously?
more like buddy. Have you ever seen Meet the Fockers?
Yeah,
Where it's
of
Dustin
course.
Hoffman and
Yeah.
De Niro. That's how I see them
Yeah, but
kind of in real
I'm
life.
just talking about Dustin Hoffman, like Rain Man
Like
time period.
Midnight Cowboy. Rain
Yeah,
Man,
like those type of movies.
Tootsie.
Marathon.
Marathon Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Frank's line, three can keep a secret if two are dead, is a quote from which founding father of the United States?
You're asking two Europeans.
I know.
Wait, but I'm American in my heart. Adams?
Nope.
He doesn't even know the founding father.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He's like, who was there?
I'm like, put me out of my misery.
Jefferson?
Nope.
Oh,
He's very famous.
oh,
He's a very famous inventor.
I don't know.
He's one of the top ones.
What, Washington?
There's one left.
Jefferson.
Just get it.
You're
bro.
missing like you've
can't
hit
remember. I
everyone
can't
that's
remember.
like of the big names, and there's one other really big name you're missing. Yeah, the kite.
Franklin?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I got it. Oh, the kite guy. What do you say?
That's
Yeah.
just
That's sad.
sad. Okay, true or false? Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have had a scene together in 3 other movies.
Do you want us to name the movies?
If you can.
Okay.
Which true or
Heat.
false? But is it true or false?
Oh.
Is that statement true or is it
I
false?
think it's false. I think it was just 2. Because there is a movie where they're both in it, but they never have a scene in it.
Yeah. What are the
Which
movies?
is The Godfather Part 2.
Right.
But they never
it
had a
is false.
scene in there.
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
trick.
That's the trick. That was movie number 3, but they never had a scene together.
Do you know what the other 2 movies are? That the other 2 movies they did.
Heat.
Well, Heat
Which is I love that movie.
and
Is there another movie?
There is another movie. I've never seen it, but it's a cop movie. 2 cops.
Sleep. No.
No, it's called Righteous Kill.
I don't know.
I've never seen it, but
Wow.
they were in it together,
Okay.
and it was flop.
Mm.
That's probably why. But good job with The Godfather Part
Yeah.
2. I love watching Robert De Niro's audition for The Godfather.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, just the thing
That
that,
was
he
the
doesn't
same
get
thing
a
with
part.
Pacino, like with Joe Pesci. Like he first didn't want to do it, and Scorsese wrote it for him. It's like it's you, and he's like, I don't know, man. I'm not that big enough, and now you have Marlon Brando here. Like I'm like, if Scorsese, I'm like, hey, I have something for. I'm like, don't worry, I'll be there. When? What do you need? Like,
Yep.
and Pacino was like, I don't know. Wow.
Just get out of here, man. Yeah. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it. We have a question for the audience. When Russ, played by Joe Pesci, is helping Frank at the beginning of the movie, fixing the car, right?
Mhm.
Where I am.
Yep.
He wipes his hand with a rag. What happens to the rag? Tosses it behind him, and what happens to it?
Ooh.
Yeah. If you
right
watch
in
the
the
movie-
comment.
Yeah, right in the comment. You have to pay attention to figure out what happens to it.
Can the winner be like our next guest at some point?
Yeah,
That's a
or,
nice idea.
Or they'll get like a Momus
Yeah.
T-shirt that we don't have.
What do you know if we have Momus t-shirts?
Do we have Momus T-shirts?
No,
Okay.
but I'm ordering some
Maybe.
maybe.
Go get them.
Yeah. Well, you'll get something if you do it.
Anyway, now as a guest, I think it was really interesting. I love talking a lot about this. As a producer, I'm pretty happy with this first session, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
I think
Well,
it's
that's
really cool. I think
That's
we're
reassuring.
up
Well,
to
it's good because
we're up to something really great here.
You
Yeah.
almost beat me in the trivia game.
Mm.
And you didn't even come close.
I got Franklin.
You-
Which is still
Really?
terrible that the one guy
because
was
he
nothing-
knocked him. He
The
knocked
kite
all
guy.
of the
Yeah.
other ones out.
No, I said Washington at the same
Do you even
time.
know his first name?
Benjamin.
Oh, okay.
Please.
All right. I think that's. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
No.
Thank you so much
I'm-
for
I'm
having me
glad-
as
yeah.
a guest and not behind the scenes, sitting down and watching.
Yeah.
the
So for in the future, you're going to be behind the scenes.
yeah,
running
in
the
the
sound.
future you won't be able to see this weird face.
Yeah, but you'll always be here with us.
We'll see other
And maybe
I
we'll
will
give you a
listen.
mic, and so you can chime in if you want.
Good point.
I'd
Yeah.
enjoy that.
We just
Yeah.
cut. We just cut to Fab every now and then.
Yep.
And he'll give us the thumbs up or
Awesome.
thumbs down.
All right. Thank you
Cool.
for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week or next time.
Do we already know what we're reviewing, or is that going to be a surprise?
We don't know yet. We will announce it though
Nice.
on some social media.
Sounds good.
With our special guest.
Cool.
With our special guest.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much.
Peace out.
Like at the movies. till the screen goes dark.